The sky was a dull gray. Ash floated in the air like slow snow. Buildings leaned, cracked and broken. The streets were empty, except for scattered figures wrapped in rags, coughing through masks. Earth was almost done. Walker stood inside the launch bay of Odyssey 7, the last arc. The ship towered above him, silver, worn, humming with power. It was humanity's last chance to escape the planet they had ruined, and Walker was the one making sure it could fly. He checked the systems one more time. Fuel levels, engine status, life support. Everything had to be perfect. No second tries. Status? Asked Commander Rhea, her voice sharp through the comms. Stable for now, Walker replied, but the temperature regulator is dropping. We'll need to run the backup if the core flares again. Rhea didn't respond. She trusted him. Everyone did. Walker never panicked. He never yelled. He just did the job. But today he was sweating, not from heat, from the weight of everything. Outside the launch base, hundreds of people pressed against the gates. They weren't on the passenger list. They had no tickets, no clearance. But they begged, screamed, pleaded for a spot on the ark. One woman held up a child. Walker turned away. He had seen too much of that already. He couldn't help them. He walked down the corridor toward the sleeping chambers. Rows of cryopods lined the walls. The selected passengers were already inside, frozen in place, waiting to wake up on a new world. Walker paused at pod 32. It was empty. That had been for his sister. She didn't make it in time. He placed his hand on the glass lid, then moved on. An alarm buzzed through the hallway. He turned sharply and ran back to the control room. A screen flashed red. Coolant system error. He tapped the controls. It wasn't a system failure. It was manual interference. Someone had tampered with the ship. Sabotage, he whispered. Walker, what's happening? Rhea's voice cracked in again. Someone's trying to stop the launch, he said. I need 10 minutes. You've got 5. He moved fast, tools out, hands steady, thoughts racing. If the coolant failed, the core would overheat. The ship wouldn't make it past the upper atmosphere. He patched the broken link and reset the core flow. The screen went green. Stabilized. He exhaled slowly. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon. It didn't matter. Earth had no real sunlight anymore. Just heat, haze and the endless hum of machines trying to keep people alive. Mr. Walker stared out at the dying world. Too many mistakes. Too much silence for too long. He wondered if leaving was survival, or running away. Far above Earth, hidden behind Jupiter's thick clouds, a large silver station floated in silence. It was smooth, round and shaped like a ring. No human had ever seen it. No human even knew it was there. This was the seat of the Galactic Council. Inside, the air was still. The walls glowed with soft light. Around a long, curved table sat 12 beings, each from a different world, tall, short, bright-skinned, shadowy-eyed. They had watched Earth for hundreds of years. Virex, head of ethics, stood at the center. His skin shimmered like dark metal. His eyes were cold, like glass. They are launching the final arc, he said, voice calm but firm. They have chosen. We will not interfere. A counselor with soft green skin leaned forward. Her name was Thula. She had always believed in mercy. But Virex, she said, we have the power to help. If we offer aid, they might still change. They are not all blind. Virex raised one hand. The room quieted. Help was offered long ago, he said. Not directly, but through signs, through warnings. They ignored them. They poisoned their world. They turned on each other. And now they run. Counselor Run, a thin creature with long arms and no eyes, nodded slowly. They learned too late, Run said. But the young survive. The ark is filled with minds we do not yet know. Virex turned to a large screen. Earth glowed faintly, far away, covered in gray and orange clouds. Storms circled the surface like bruises. Saving them now would break our law. Virex said. We do not interfere unless invited. We are not their gods. Silence filled the room. Then Thulla spoke again, softer this time. And if no one survives to invite us, then what are we? No one answered. Virex looked around the table. His voice grew sharper. We will observe, nothing more. Behind him another screen showed a feed from Earth. The last arc, Odyssey 7, stood ready. The engines glowed faintly. Walker moved across the screen, fixing systems, unaware of the watchers above. The council watched him for a moment in silence. Then the screen dimmed. The meeting was over. Virex turned and walked down a quiet hall alone. His hands were clasped behind his back. He didn't look angry. He looked tired. He paused at a window, staring out at Earth. I warned them, he whispered. But no one heard. The launch bay was quiet. The only sound was the steady hum of machines. Inside Odyssey 7, Walker stood over the engine core. Thick cables ran across the floor. The smell of metal and heat filled the air. He had just stopped the sabotage. But the ship wasn't safe yet. The coolant system was stable for now. But the readings were strange. Too much pressure. The regulator wasn't holding. If it failed again during launch, the ship would overheat and explode. Walker ran a diagnostic. The core's temperature was rising slowly. Not good, he muttered. He opened the side panel of the reactor housing. The coolant valve had been damaged. Not just once, but several times. Someone had been messing with it for days. He checked the logs. No sign of forced entry. Whoever did it had access. His comm crackled. Walker, report, said Commander Rhea. Problems deeper than we thought, he said. Coolant regulator is failing. We'll need to switch to the backup line and recalibrate the flow rate manually. How long? 2 hours. You've got one. He closed the comm. There wasn't enough time. He needed help. Walker headed to the crew quarters, where the small active team was gathered. Most of the passengers were already in cryosleep, but the skeleton crew remained. He stepped inside. The room was tense. Some of the engineers looked tired. Others looked scared. One of them, Jonas, stood up quickly. Is it true? He asked. Someone's trying to stop the launch. Walker nodded. It's sabotage. And if we don't fix it fast, this ship's not going anywhere. Jonas clenched his jaw. Why would anyone do that? Walker didn't answer. He didn't have the answer. Maybe some believed Earth could still be saved. Maybe they didn't want to leave others behind. Or maybe they just wanted everyone to suffer together. He looked around the room. I need 2 volunteers, he said. It's tight work in the core tunnel. Dangerous, but I'll guide you. A silence. Then a young woman, Mara, raised her hand. I'll go. Walker nodded. Good, Jonas. Jonas hesitated, then gave a small nod. I'm in. They suited up and climbed down into the narrow maintenance tunnel under the engine. Heat pulsed through the metal walls. Walker led the way. As they worked, he felt something shift inside him. He had trained for this. Prepared. But it wasn't just a system failing now. It was time running out. He thought of his sister again. Of her laughter. Of the day they buried their parents. She was gone. He had made peace with that. But now he had others to protect. The job was slow. The valve replacement took longer than expected. The tunnel was cramped. Tools slipped. Heat rose. Finally, they finished the connection. The pressure reading dropped. The system leveled out. Walker let out a breath. We're good, he said. Let's get out of here. As they climbed back up, Walker stopped and looked at the backup control panel. A thought came to him. If the primary regulator failed again during launch, someone would have to stay behind to adjust it manually. The system couldn't run both channels remotely. That someone would have to die. He didn't say anything. Not yet. They returned to the main deck. Mara and Jonas went to get water and rest. Walker stayed behind. He stared at the glowing core. He didn't cry. He didn't flinch. He just stood there thinking and deciding. The engine room was quiet again. Walker stood alone, watching the core hum with steady light. The fix was holding. For now, but deep down he knew it wouldn't last. He opened the control panel and ran another simulation. During launch, the coolant pressure would spike. If the primary regulator failed, the backup system would need to be controlled manually from inside the engine bay. No one could survive that heat. Walker stared at the screen. One button, one job, one life. He already knew what he would do. His comm buzzed. "Walker," said Commander Rhea, "Council just updated our launch window. We go in 6 hours." "Copy that," he replied. He didn't tell her about the manual override. Far above Earth, the Galactic Council gathered again. The chamber was dim. A large screen showed Odyssey 7, still on the launch pad, surrounded by dust and smoke. Counselor Thala looked tired. Her green skin was pale. "They've held on longer than I thought," she said softly. "They're stubborn," Ron added. "That has always been their strength and their weakness." Vuric stood at the center again. "We must vote," he said. "Intervene or not." Thala stood. "I ask the council to offer assistance. Even a signal, a message, a sign that they are not alone." Vurix frowned. "You ask us to break the code. No species has ever been helped unless they called for it." "They can't call now," Thala said. "They're too broken, but if we show mercy, maybe they'll learn." Murmurs filled the room. Some agreed, some didn't. "Their time is over," Vurix said. "We will observe, we will learn, but we do not interfere." The vote began. One by one, the council members touched the glowing panels in front of them. Blue for aid, red for observe only. Vurix watched as the colors lit up. Red, red, blue, red, blue. It was close. Back on Earth, Walker walked the ship's corridors. The lights flickered, but the systems held. He passed by the cryo chambers again. He stopped at Pod 32. Still empty. He had saved that spot for his sister. She had died 2 weeks before launch, caught in a riot near the food stations. He had found her, carried her, buried her. Now that pod would remain empty. He moved on, checking systems, speaking calmly to the crew, helping where needed. But his mind was made up. He would stay. Commander Rhea called for a final systems check. Walker reported in. "All systems green," he said. "Cryo cycle starts in 1 hour," she replied. "You'll be on board, right?" "I will," Walker said. But he wouldn't. On the council station, the final vote came down to one member, a small silent being named Eling. No one knew where Eling came from. It had never spoken, just watched. Eling looked at the screen, at Earth, at Walker, at the ship, at the chaos below and the silence above. Then slowly, Eling reached out and touched the panel. The final vote was cast. The screen faded to black. Vurix turned away. "We do nothing," he said. But Eling remained still, watching the stars. Back on Earth, Walker climbed into the engine bay one last time. He brought a datapad and a small recording device. He would leave a message, not for the crew, for whatever waited in the dark. The countdown began. A deep voice echoed through the launch base. "Launch in T-30 minutes. The crew moved quickly. Final checks. Power levels. Cryo sleep systems." All lights showed green. Commander Rhea stood in the command deck, watching the screens. "He's in the engine bay," replied Mara. "Running a final core test." Rhea frowned. "Tell him to get to cryopod. Now." Walker was in the heart of the ship, deep in the core chamber. Heat pressed against his skin. The metal walls glowed faintly. He had disabled the automatic override. Now the regulator would only work by hand. He checked the reactor one last time. Steady. Ready. He sat down near the manual control panel and turned on the recording device. "This is Walker, systems engineer of Odyssey 7. If you're hearing this, the ship made it. I didn't." He paused, then continued. "I stayed to fix what others broke. I stayed because someone had to. I hope you reach the stars. I hope you find peace." He reached for the backup panel, switched it on, and locked it. It would run perfectly now, as long as he stayed alive long enough to guide the core through the launch. He leaned back, closed his eyes for a moment, then stood up and got to work. Above Earth, in the shadows of Jupiter, the Galactic Council watched. The launch had begun. Engines flared. Fire lit the ground. "They're leaving," said Counselor Thala. "They may not survive the journey," Varric said. but they chose to try. Run tilted his head. I sensed something changed in the vote. No one spoke, except Elian. For the first time, the silent counselor stood and moved to a private console. There, unseen by the others, Elian uploaded a small data file, coordinates, star maps, and a simple message, into a narrow transmission beam. It was aimed directly at Odyssey 7. Then Elian sat back down, and said nothing. Odyssey 7 shook as engines fired. The ground cracked beneath it. Dust filled the air. Flames burst from the launch ring. Inside, the crew was already in cryo-sleep. Peaceful, still. Only Commander Rhea remained awake for the final launch steps. She looked at the system log. Walker's cryopod was still empty. "Where is he?" she whispered. But it was too late. The Ark lifted into the sky, glowing white-hot, rising above the ruins of Earth. Deep inside the engine bay, Walker kept the core balanced, adjusting pressure, cooling the fuel flow, watching numbers tick upward. He was sweating, breathing hard. The heat was unbearable, but the ship was flying. Smooth, strong. He smiled. Minutes later, the ship broke through the last layer of Earth's dead sky. Then it drifted into space, silent, bright, and alone. Walker didn't make it, but the Ark did. A small signal blinked inside the ship's nav system. An alert, unknown data detected. When the system processed it, a map appeared on the central screen. Clear coordinates through a quiet galaxy. Alongside it was a message. "This time we watched. Next time we'll be ready to listen." Space was quiet. Odyssey 7 floated through the dark, its engines cold and silent. Behind it, Earth was just a small, fading ball of dust and fire. Inside the ship, the lights glowed gently. The crew slept in cryochambers, unaware of what had happened, unaware of who had stayed behind to make sure they left. Commander Rhea was the last to enter cryosleep. She stared at the empty pod where Walker should have been. She knew now, he had made a choice. She touched the glass one last time. "Thank you," she whispered. Then she stepped into her pod, and the lid closed over her. Far below, Earth was silent. The sky was black. The ground cracked. Cities were empty. Oceans had dried. Forests burned. The last bits of power flickered out across the surface. Deep inside the launch base, the control systems shut down. The air grew still. Walker's body lay near the core chamber, peaceful. His eyes were closed. The ship had made it. That was enough. High above, the Galactic Council watched the Ark disappear into the stars. Virix said nothing. He simply turned and walked out of the chamber. Stella stood quietly, hands clasped. "They left with nothing," she said. But they still left. Eline remained silent, as always, but a soft light blinked on the console near them. Proof of the message sent. Not everyone had followed the law. Weeks passed. In the quiet of space, Odyssey 7 traveled beyond the solar system. Its path was clear now. The nav system had changed. New data, a safer route, a better destination. The gift from the stars. Inside the ship, a soft voice played through the speaker. Walker's final message, left in the system log. "If you're hearing this, it means we made it. Or at least, you did. Don't waste it. Build something better." The voice faded. The ship kept moving. Far ahead, a blue world turned slowly around a warm sun. The new home waited. Green, bright, untouched. Hope, back on Earth. No sound remained. Only wind, only dust. But above, in the endless sky, one trail of fire marked the place where the last of humanity had risen and vanished into the stars.